So if you're wondering why suddenly my video content got better, have myself a little GoPro. That's all. Nothing magical, but cool, huh? Okay, so I'm testing out new content. This is part of my content test. Not really liking the camera angle. I have to fix that. But anyway, if I post this, yeah, I know I need a background. If I post this, that means that there's something here worth sharing. So I want to talk about the reasons why I can't vote for Biden, the reasons why I can't vote for Democrats, and the reason why I don't want to vote for Trump. So that's what we're going to be doing today. Again, this is just test content. This is not necessarily going to be what my channel's about, but if I get enough likes and I get enough comments and you guys tell me this is something you're interested in, maybe I can do some more perspective on it. So let me give you... well, let me just get into it. Those reasons are actually very short because his actual policies have actually helped me. They haven't hurt me. And the things that Trump says doesn't bother me. I think he's too bombastic. I think he has the wrong personality to be the type of leader that America needs. But character flaws aside, his actual policies are fine. So even though he might not be the kind of person I want to be the leader, or at least in perception wise, I don't want him to act like that. His actual policies are policies that I, for the most part, agree with. And what's interesting is that a lot of his policies back in the 90s when I was a teenager were considered left or even radical left policies. And now they're not. Now they're just, I don't know. That's just, now they're in the right. That actually is part of the reason why I can't support the Democrats, because I was considered very liberal and very radical when I was younger. But my views haven't changed that much. Some have. Like my religious views have become more traditional. But politically, I have not. My political views have stayed where they were. But yet somehow I'm now a conservative on the right, even though my political views haven't shifted. So that's a very weird thing that I don't really quite understand. The same thing happens politically. When I started off, I grew up in a Democratic household. I had Democratic beliefs. And so what were those beliefs? Why did I not like the right? Well, on the right side, the right side was anti-drug to the point of hurting people who were the victims of drugs. Okay, so they were the way that they were going after the victims of drug addiction and destroying their lives. That really bothered me. And then, they were, labeling goth kids and metalheads as monsters, and the fear and the control was just not something that I wanted to see. And they were pro-censorship, and it was something that I was not okay with. So I was on the left. I wanted there to be women's rights. I wanted women to be treated equal to men. I wanted my friends who were gay to be able to walk around openly without having to, run for the hills and be called evil, and all that kind of stuff. I was at the height of, this is 1999. It was the height of the Y2K, and the end of the world's coming and apocalypse is going to happen. And yeah, those people look nuts. I believe in science. I believe in medicine. I believe in history. I love history. When I was a little goth kid back in the day and a little metalhead. And so that's like, yeah, those are the things that people were mad at. They were mad at people for playing video games and for playing Dungeons and Dragons. And I'm looking that way because I have some Dungeons and Dragons book stuff there. So I was like, yeah, of course I'm not on that side. And my entire family is blue dog, is blue Democrat, blue all the way. Like, they are Democrats. But I also, not only did I support free speech, but I also supported gun rights. And I supported gun rights because guns have saved my life at least twice. When I was a kid, there was a rattlesnake. I live in Texas. There was a rattlesnake that was going to get me. and my uncle pulled out his gun and shot the rattlesnake through the head and saved my life. And a girlfriend of mine, before I got married, a girlfriend of mine, her kid almost got killed by a bobcat or a wildcat of some kind, and she pulled out her gun out of her car and saved her kid's life. So yeah, guns are good. Guns can be used for good things. So right there, that was my first break. The other thing was the science denialism that's happening now. Part of the reason why I rejected conservatism and republicanism when I was younger was the science denial. Well, now it's the far left that's doing science denial. There's videos of people arguing for the pagan gods of nature, controlling the lightning. I can't get behind that. Wiccanism as a secular movement, I can't get behind that. It's ridiculous. It's cosplay and it's craziness. I can't do it. So, I start breaking away from the left, the hypocrisy, the purity test, the way that they go after people for not agreeing 100% with their ideology. While the right is like, no, we'll have an open argument where we can debate this. So that's how I started moving into the right. I'm not far right or anything like that. And like I said, I probably would be considered very liberal or very libertine, but now I'm a conservative just by the nature of my views not evolving as far as everyone else's. But there are other reasons why, even though I don't like Trump's character, I can't vote for Biden and I can't support the Democrats. So let's talk about BLM. So I'm clearly not white. I'm clearly Hispanic. And I'm married to a Chinese person. And by Chinese, I mean Han Chinese. She's actually Chinese, where communism and socialism actually exists as a real thing, where she's, there's no religion and all that kind of stuff. And, I can't support the Marxist movement. I really can't. And BLM backing Marxism is something that I'm not okay with. BLM stepping out as an organization and saying that Catholicism specifically is something that they're against, going out and breaking Catholic statues as symbols of oppression and tearing down crosses and images of Jesus and the Virgin Mary. I'm a Catholic, man. That offends me. That's not cool. That's not something that I want to see happening. And the way that I view it, because, I've been to Louisiana and I've been to Mississippi and I've had racism right up in my face, and people refuse to give me service just because I'm not like them. And I've seen racism down here among fellow Hispanics, where the rich, where it's not really racism, but it's classism, where the people who consider themselves popular act more white and really are shitty to people. I've seen that. And here's what I notice. When I was with these groups, it wasn't that, this one particular group had to have all the attention. No, this one particular group had particular needs that were unique to them. So for me, the expression is not BLM, the organization. The expression should be Black Lives Do Matter, because Black Lives do matter. That should be the message. Not simply Black Lives Matter, but that Black Lives do matter. And it shouldn't be an organization. It shouldn't be a group. It should be a statement, a philosophical, metaphysical statement that says, yes, even if your skin just happens to have a darker pigment, you're still a valued member of our society and an important member, an important citizen of our nation. That's what the message should be. I can't get down with Antifa. I just can't. I like I said back in the day, I wrote for a deconstructionist magazine. I was an anarchist for a very long time when I was very young. By the time I was 18, all these kind of notions passed, and by the time that I was 21, no, and 25, complete changeover to being closer to what I am now. Took me a while to get here, but yeah. But I just can't get behind Antifa. That's just not my bag, man. Rioting, destroying statues, burning books. Those are all the things that I hated the right for. Do you understand? Like, they were burning and breaking CDs and burning books. And it was the conservative Christian right, the fundamentalist evangelical right, that was doing all these terrible things of burning books and censoring people and being pro-censorship. And now it's the far left that's going to be pro-censorship, and Antifa is wants, it's no, between the science denialism and it just, whatever, doesn't work for me. The focus on extreme and absolute group rights instead of individual freedoms and personal liberty bothers me. I don't know why I'm on the conservative side. You want to know why I'm voting Republican most of the time? It's because I'm for personal liberty. I am for free speech. I am anti-censorship. I am pro-free speech. I am pro-gun rights. Talking about how my views have changed. I used to be pro-choice. Now I'm pro-life. But I think pro-life shouldn't mean simply like, anti-abortion. By pro-life, I mean like pro-adoption and pro-surrogacy and, pro healthcare for people of a lower income. Not that everyone should get free healthcare, but the people of under a certain income should get free healthcare. And it shouldn't be incentivized. It should just be a basic healthcare plan. You want something better than that? Then yeah, you have to buy a better healthcare plan. And again, at a certain bracket, there should be a cutoff. If you make enough money, you shouldn't get the free healthcare. Anyway, the defunding the police movement instead of police reform. I'm not for that at all. I'm totally against the defunding the police. I don't think that's a smart move. Do I think there should be police reform? Yeah. I'm a writer. I like to write. And one of the stories that's been going on in my head since the 90s is what happens if on a small border town, some cop goes too far with an immigrant kid. Does the town riot? That's like a thought that I've had since I was a kid, because it's happened in Mexico. In Mexico, there are towns that have kicked out the police and taken control of a town from the police, from the government, because of police corruption. So yeah, that's something that's on my mind. It's something that I'm aware of. But seeing it in the streets of America is not a good look for us. It's very third world. It's very banana republic. It's a very bad choice for us to do. I've been in Huatuco. Okay, I've seen the guerrillas, and by the guerrillas I mean the military guerrillas, and I've run from them. I've ran from those people. No, that's not a good place to be. Okay, you don't want to be in a situation where military militias are in control of your freedoms. There's also the factor of the anti-religion and anti-Christianity instead of being pro-religious freedom. So if democracy or Democrats, if the Democrats were simply pro-religious freedom, but they're actually anti-religious now. They're actually trying to censor the Bible and censor books, like changing Mark Twain and stuff like that. Like, that's just too far. I'm no longer with you once you start doing stuff like that. Let the Bible say what it says. If you don't like what it says, have a good argument against it. Don't simply shut down the conversation because you don't like what it's saying. All right. And that goes into my next thing. The fact that the left has become pro-censorship instead of pro-free speech, I'm not okay with that. Being anti-gun instead of pro-gun education and pro-gun control. There's a right way to handle a weapon. I was in ROTC, and I live in South Texas, and so, I've shot guns. I literally, at the school that I went to, they had a shooting range, and I learned how to shoot guns in school. And it was a .22. It was a real gun. I don't really like handguns. I like rifles better. But even though I'm not really into hunting, even though I like swords more than I like guns, I think people should have the right to defend themselves. And I kind of already told the story why. Because guns can be necessary to save someone's life. And then finally, the anti-scientism. I'm just not okay with that. I believe in evolution. Um, I believe in genetics. I love genetics. So I like medicine. Like I can't get down with the anti-scientism. I can't get down with the science denial. I can't get down with people arguing against basic chromosomal biological truths. I mean, yeah, there are intersex people. I have a friend who's intersex, but transgendered and intersex are not the same thing. And I know that now they're trying to include intersex, they're trying to include the I in the group, but that's not a sexuality. Being intersexed is not a sexuality. It might be a gender, but it's not a sexuality. And trans, I don't really think that should be considered a sexuality either. That should be considered a gender, if anything. A third, a fourth gender here, because that would actually be a fourth gender, because the third gender should be the intersex people. And the intersex people also have differences too. There's different types of chromosomal and hormonal imbalances. There are different styles, so there can be multiple sexes there. But even if it's just a small percentage of 1% of people that has imbalances and those mutations, that's not trans people who don't have those imbalances. So if you don't have the chemical imbalance of the hormones and you don't have the mutations of your chromosomes, like if those aren't in your biological self, then your biological body doesn't fall into the intersex stuff. And the people who are intersex have real issues. It's a real thing. There are forced operations on them that is a violation of their rights because their parents want them to be male or female. Like that's huge. And what's going on in other countries where they stone and kill gay people, that's huge. Those are real issues. The stuff that we are arguing about here in the US is BS. We should not be at war with each other, with ourselves, within ourselves. It's not right. So at the end of the day, that's why I can't vote for Biden. I can't support the agendas of the factions that are supporting him. I live on the border, man. I have friends. By the way, we're all Hispanic down here. I have friends who people break into their yard and break into their home and cross the border illegally and steal things from their house and their yard. We want border control down here. We don't want a wall, but yeah, we do want border control. I made a video a few years ago when all the news media came down to where I lived, and they were like showing stuff. And they were showing this horrible side of my home area, the Rio Grande Valley. And so I was just filming stuff around just to show, like, no, we don't live in squalor. We live in big houses. There's mansions right next to my neighborhood. Like, the way that they presented us was terrible. And the way that they were making it look like we were treating our fellow Hispanic and Mexican people. Like, no, those are our people. Yeah, there's some cultural difference. We eat flour tortillas, they eat corn tortillas. They speak proper Spanish, we speak Tex-Mex. But we're still Hispanic. We're still both Hispanic people. We're still both come from the same Indio tribes. Indio, by the way, if you're wondering what I just said. So the way that the North and the media represents what's going down here in the border is really false. And it's ugly false. And that's another thing that turns me off from the left, is that the people who are identifying as Democrats are showing a lie about the place that I live. And they're harming people that I care about. People who need to be protected. There are everyday border crossings. There are people who live on the Mexico side who come to this side to go to school, and people on this side who go to Mexico to work every day. Even with the pandemic going on, every day. So yeah, do I think that Trump is the best person to be the president? No. Do I think he's a better choice than Biden? Yeah. Do I think the Republicans are a better option than the Democrats? No, I think they're both equally bad. But the Democrats The Democrats and the left are bad in a way that I don't agree with, while the Republicans want, or at least say they want, the same things that I want. So either I can go with the side that says that they're going to go against everything I stand for, or go with the side that is at least saying that they agree with me, even if I don't believe them. It's not a very good option. And on Joe Biden personally, as a Catholic, I can't support him. He's pro things that Catholics are not supposed to be pro. And he's anti things that Catholics are supposed to be for. So as a Catholic, I can't support him. As a Hispanic person, I don't support him. As a Texan, I don't support him. Like, Texas is all oil industry. We need the oil industry. When my job used to be was in the oil industry, I used to work with a guy who did long haul trucking, and I did his work. I did his paperwork and all that stuff for him. And in doing all of that, kept me afloat. Do I want there to be a president who's more elegant in his speaking and a little bit more sensitive in the way that he talks? Sure. But my feelings don't trump my situation. And my situation is better under Trump than it was under Obama. My situation under Bush was better than it was under Clinton. That's the truth. And I know that the president doesn't have that kind of power. I know that he's just a figurehead. He's just a representation. But you know what? The executive branch, when it's in Republican hands, when that happens, my life, my personal life gets better. Do I want the entire government to be Republican? No. I want there to be balance. It works best when there's a divided House. It works best when the House is Republican, the Senate is Democrat. Whatever, as long as it's not totally one group. It works best when the executive branch is controlled by a Republican and the judicial branch is controlled by Democrats, or vice versa. It works best when each branch is from a different group. And I'd love to see independents in there. I'd love to see people from the Green Party. I'd love to see people from any other party, Libertarian Party, get in there. I like my freedoms. I live in Texas. I don't live in New York. You know what I'm saying? I live. Yeah. Anyway. All right. This video is getting long. This is just a test one. I don't know exactly how I'm going to put it all together. Please like and subscribe. Don't know what the channel name is going to be in the future. But if you like this kind of content, please like it. Please put a comment on it. And maybe I'll do more politics in the future.